This week has been very interesting as it pertains to Bethesda news, and there have been a few other developments as well in the gaming world. We have a lot to talk about here, and if you're into keeping up with Bethesda news, then please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. With that, let's dive right in. Starting with Starfield. This one is a bit older, but recently Starfield got its first rating from Australia, and it got hit with an R18+ rating. The reason for that rating is because of strong violence and drug use. Now, when we got the Starfield reveal trailer, one thing I noticed was there was a distinct lack of blood during the combat sequences. There are a lot of reasons this could be, however, I believe that the feature that produces blood was simply turned off at the time of recording. Most likely, the reason for this was because the game was not fully optimized at that point, and by adding the bloody effects, that would have simply put too much of a strain on the performance. Now, the violence part wasn't enough to push the R18+ rating. No, that was the drug use. Remember, Starfield is not the first Bethesda game to get an R rating before the game launched. That distinction fell to Fallout 3. That rating was also given by Australia. The reason for that was simple. You see, in Fallout, there is a drug called Med-X. This was not what the drug was originally going to be called, though. You see, prior to Fallout 3's release, Med-X was called morphine. Because morphine is a real-world drug, it was perceived as excessive drug use. Australia has historically been very strict on video games for that very reason. So, in response to that rating, Bethesda decided to change the name to Med-X, and as a result, the R18+ rating was lifted from the title. I am sure something similar will happen with Starfield, and that rating will change before launch. Our next story is about the Fallout TV show. We have all heard the rumors that filming was completed, but with no real confirmation of that being the case. However, Walton Goggins, who plays one of the lead roles, tweeted on March 4th that filming had indeed wrapped. This confirms what we have suspected, and now this begs the question of when will we see the first trailer for the show? Well, I have a theory. Some of you might be thinking we will see something around the time that E3 would tend to happen. I don't think this will be the case. I think the earliest we see anything is at this year's QuakeCon. Now we move on to our next story, which is about Redfall. Last week, a bunch of big names on YouTube and some press were invited to play Redfall for the first time. Sadly, I was not one of them, but even so, it was received quite well by those who did get to go. One of the big reveals that came out of some of the interviews during that trip was that prior to Microsoft purchasing ZeniMax, the plan was to put Redfall on all platforms. This means that PlayStation was going to get the game as well. Now, I know some of you may want to raise up your pitchforks and start shouting for it to be released on that platform, but that is not fair to do. Remember, PlayStation has locked games to their platform for years, so Microsoft doing it is not so bad. They have just as much right to have exclusives as any other platform does. The other part of the story is the fact that not long ago, Arcane stated that Redfall would require you to be online to be able to play it. They are now actively working to change this. As of right now, that requirement is still in place, and I don't think they will have it removed by launch. However, I do believe that it will get patched out after launch. Fallout 76 also has some things going on. From now till April 3rd, the Spooky Scorched are back, as well as Script Surplus and Gold Rush. There have been some pretty cool releases to the Atomic Shop as well, so make sure you check them out before they are gone. The Mighty Doom mobile game also released in most countries to rave reviews. If you are a fan of the Doom franchise, then this mobile game is for you. Last but certainly not least, we need to talk about E3. Last week, E3 officially announced that the event was cancelled. This is now 2 years in a row, and I think it is safe to say that E3 is dead. With most of the industry trending towards doing their own shows and other events that have continued to innovate, there is no longer a need for E3. Personally, I am saddened by this news, as I have never gotten a chance to go to one. However, based on what I have seen in past years, it doesn't surprise me that E3 is gone. Shows like QuakeCon, Summer Games Fest, and PAX have proven that they can fill the void that E3 was just not doing. Every major player in the industry deciding early on that they were not going to attend was what really put the nails in the coffin for E3. While E3 is gone, one thing I can say is that every other big show is going to have to continue to innovate, or they too will end up falling to the same pitfalls that E3 did. With all of that having been said, I want to hear from you. Are you surprised that E3 is now gone? Are you excited for the Fallout TV show? Sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I'm just glad you stopped by, and I'll see you in the next one.